give me your thoughts about Kyrie Irving being traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Dallas Mavericks.
I have to start this with I have no issue with Kyrie Irving's skill. We know that he is probably one of the most gifted athletes we've ever seen with a basketball in terms of having that ball on a string. He is widely renowned for having arguably the best handles we've ever seen, even surpassing AI. And we're talking about the answer, the truth, like the guy that was known for revolutionizing how handle was viewed in the NBA in Allen Iverson. And I mean, Kyrie's been regarded to have the best handle in the league since he's entered in 2011, 2012, whenever his rookie year was. And again, I'm not saying that he's a bad player on the court. What he can do for you on the court, we know 25 to 30 points a game. For my team, for my Mavericks, this is the stupidest decision we could have made. If this doesn't show anything, it shows desperation from the front office. It shows lack of preparation. It shows inexperience in the leadership and management role. We are going to trade away our best on-ball defender in Dorian Finney-Smith, our best player off the bench in Spencer Dinwiddie. In some instances, Spencer started, depending on the availability of some of our starters. Then you go and you trade our future first-round pick for 2027, a second-round pick for 2027 and 2029, and the first-round pick is unprotected. You know how many games the Dallas Mavericks have for the remainder of the season? 28. Do you know that is literally in the equivalent of a calendar month outside of February? That is less than a month's worth of basketball left to stretch all the way through April until the playoffs begin. So we have to assume that a guy that hasn't necessarily been available for his previous teams, whether that be for injury, political stances, or just, quite frankly, he didn't feel like playing. So let me go down those numbers, right? So Kyrie Irving has been a member of the Brooklyn Nets since 2019. In the year he started, in the year he got to Brooklyn, he played 20 games. In 2020, 54 games. Obviously, that included COVID. He did not go to the bubble. So again, a lot of people didn't play in that instance. But again, neither here nor there. It's still not a full season. The following year, 29 games. Didn't want to take the vaccine, had his own beliefs, own stances, whatever. This year, he's played 40. So if anything, you're getting a player that's never available. You're getting a player that has ruined a multitude of locker rooms. You're getting a player that didn't want to play under LeBron James. You're getting a player that was intimidated with the rising of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You're getting somebody that was agitated with Brooklyn not giving him everything that he had wanted, even though they were willing to offer him a supermax extension, I believe, after the 2020 season or 2021 season, but he declined because he felt that he wanted more money. KD gets a supermax extension for $198 million, almost $200 million. Kyrie is in and out of the lineup again for various reasons, and he wants upwards of $200 million again. So you got a guy that throws temper tantrums, doesn't show up for work, cancer to the locker room, and is just an overall bad teammate. For 28 games at $35 million for the remainder of the year, whatever it is we have to dish out and pay. Talking about a guy that doesn't necessarily play defense. He isn't known for defense. You're talking about a guy that needs the ball in his hand. You're talking about a guy that plays the point guard position, which is what Luka plays. You're talking about a player in Luka Doncic that cannot play off the ball, that is also not a good defender. You're talking about a guy that couldn't handle playing with Dennis Smith Jr. the year after his rookie season and ended up getting Dennis traded. Now you bring in a guy that didn't want to play under arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. Two young 20-year-olds that were taking away shots, opportunities, points, whatever you have you in Boston with Jason and Jaylen. You go and you sign with Brooklyn. You don't like the way the head coaching situation is handled. You have no regard for James Harden. You don't respect him. You don't want him. You get him shipped off. You request a trade in the offseason. KD requests a trade. You decide to opt in. You make hell for the team. You say the anti-Semitic comments. Your owner makes life a living hell for you, making you donate over $500,000 in charities and fines, whatever the hell the situation was. You're scoring over 30 points a game over your last 8. Brooklyn is starting to get it back together before KD returns from his MCL sprain, and then you request a trade. Tell me in that list of shit that you think the Dallas Mavericks need to deal with. Tell me in that list of nonsense that Dallas needs to have that on their plate when they're already struggling to find their rhythm. You have two ball-dominant players that don't play defense. Luka's never had to succumb to anybody when it comes to having the ball in his hands. Kyrie's already had to do that on a multitude of occasions in his career with LeBron in Cleveland. In some instances, Jason and Jalen. And then, of course, in some instances in Brooklyn, you had to give it up to KD. You think he's going to listen to a 23-year-old that has no championships, no league MVPs? Cool, he's got some all-star game appearances that he started in. Cool, he's got some all-pros. Yeah. Kyrie's got hardware. Kyrie has played on a multitude of deep-running playoff teams in terms of Cleveland. Boston made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, albeit without him because he was injured that year. He has been a part of teams that have made it far. He has played with high all-star, all-pro, Hall of Fame caliber players. Luka Doncic is 23 years old, who got to his first Western Conference Finals last year. Kyrie Irving's going to look at him and say, give me the ball. I know what I'm doing. And the piece de resistance about the whole thing, a report came out about an hour ago from Mark Stein. Dallas is going to focus on an extension at the end of the year. So 28 games, trade away two players, future, and we're spending more money on Kyrie than we were on the other two players for him to leave in the summer. So people on Twitter are saying, oh, it's all in championship. So you think Kyrie Irving is going to win us a championship when the Mavericks haven't had a big since Tyson Chandler, when the Mavericks have not had a top 10 defense at a consistent level outside of last season in 15 years. The Dallas Mavericks have not had a deep bench in years. But getting rid of two assets, getting rid of two valuable players is going to make up for Kyrie Irving coming to Dallas. Mavs Twitter's blind. They're all focused on the name that is Kyrie Irving, but forget that Kyrie Irving has not been available over the course of the last 4 to 5 years. This isn't Kyrie Irving from the NBA Finals in 2016 where he dropped 40 with LeBron James. This isn't the Kyrie Irving that hit clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot throughout that entire postseason. This is Kyrie Irving 6 years later, multiple injuries later, multiple headaches later, distractions in the media, and all of those things. But because he's playing with Luka Doncic, people believe that that is enough for us to go to the finals. Last I checked, there are still a multitude of teams in the Western Conference that are better than the Mavericks on paper, even with Kyrie on the team. So before we go and we crown Dallas the 2023 NBA champions or say that we're a shoo-in for the NBA Finals or the Western Conference Finals again, how about we see how he plays with Luka Doncic? Because I expect this to be an utter failure for more than one reason. Again, we're already not a good defensive team. Now you two are going to fight for who takes the last shot. If one's on a hot night and the other's on a cold night, the other one's going to want the ball back because he wants to continue the hot streak, while the other player that's struggling is going to want to shoot out of a slump because we've seen Luka and Kyrie do it in the postseason, in the regular season. Shoot or shoot, right? I don't see how this works. I don't see how this fits. ESPN, I believe, graded this a D in terms of for Dallas and a B plus in terms of for Brooklyn in terms of overall grade for the trade. I don't think that could have been more accurate. Brooklyn gets some depth. They get a guard. They get a strong forward. And they get some draft capital. And they get Kyrie the hell out of their locker room. Rather than losing him in free agency for nothing, they acquired what I would look at a sucker team that was desperate for another star player in the Dallas Mavericks. This is going to end up being a disaster. Kyrie's going to walk at the end of the year, and we're probably going to be a second round exit at the most. This is horrible.